Warning! The voices heard in this video are made synthetically using artificial intelligence. Nothing in this video reflects anything actually stated by the real-life individuals involved. This video is for entertainment purposes only, and serious political content will be avoided for that purpose. Enjoy.
It's a brand new day and the sun is high. All the birds are singing that the mages will die. First I hesitated, but now I wonder why it's a brand new day. Welcome back, viewers.
Is that Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog?
Yeah, I've been rewatching it last couple of weeks. Shit still slaps. Anyways, viewers, we have a lot of mages to introduce to the curb. But first we have to give Mommy Isabella her ship and do Varric's questioning beliefs quest.
You know Donald between the drinking competition with the repeating maps and starting all your episodes in the Hanged Man. I'm starting to think your entire purpose in this series is promoting drinking to the viewers.
I have no idea what you mean, Barack, my buddy. And speaking of Bud, whenever I want to hook up with a pirate queen in a bar, I offer her a cold, refreshing Budweiser. It never fails, boys. Please drink responsibly.
Oh damn, did we actually get a beer sponsor that would be so sick?
Joe, I'm fairly certain we are too down bad for YouTube to offer a sponsorship, Donald, though I can see being free game. Also, Donald looks like Isabella heard about us hooking up with Meryl.
Donald, why the hell did you pick the flirt option there? We are locked into the elf waifu asshole.
Yeah, well, just like you didn't stop flirting with Liliana every episode, I don't have to stop flirting with my pirate queen. Fair game is fair game, Sleepy. I may have honored my deal, but I still have my regrets. I mean, just look at those hips.
I literally helped you get gifts for both your wifus in both the games, and you're practically using it as ammunition against me. I am about to use my stand and remove every keystroke I ever did in this game, and you can enjoy your waifu going ungifted in this series.
What's fine, Joe? Like I said earlier, Donald already didn't pick the critical flirt option, so Hawk's romance with Isabella is in permanent limbo, no matter what option he picks here. Her romance with Meryl is completely safe now, since unlike Origins, once the right dialogue option is picked, there's no way to end the romance. And other possible romances simply can't be activated now. And yes, Joe, that includes who I know you are thinking about.
Why specifically me? You two are just as down bad as me in both your previous episodes.
Because we know exactly what DLC on the list you want to do, Joe, and we know exactly why you chose that specific one.
Damn, you guys are reading me too well, and speaking of reading, looks like Varric is here spinning the beta test for his book to a couple of drunks at the Hanged Man.
The fact we never get to read Varric's version of Hawk's story in either the Codex entries or a physically published novel is one of the biggest L's in the Bioware series. Hell, I would even take a small story published by Dark Horse Comics like in the Mass Effect series.
So this is another questioning beliefs quest, right, Obama? You are our resident lore master. What happens to this conversation during the rivalry path?
Holy shit, I honestly forgot you can even get a rivalry path with Varric. No matter what, we owe him a lot, and he is still our best buddy.
It's honestly nothing that's special because, like you said, Joe, Varric is our #1 buddy. And there is no Hawk without Varric. The only way to get rivalry with Varric maxed out is to do plenty of evil and violent decisions, so Varric will naturally be here spreading rumors about Hawk working with pirates to burn down chantries. Although he will deny being the one to start that rumor. This is obviously not that different from the story he tells on the Friendship Path, except Hawk is a hero in this version. At the end of the game, Varric will admit Hawk can be a bastard that he doesn't agree with. But he has helped both Varric and the city, and at the end of the day, that's what matters most. Regardless of approval rating, Varric is the only one who will never leave the party at any time.
Honestly, while I love the renegade lifestyle in all 3 games, I could never bring myself to be mean to Varric. Even when I did his companion quest to kill Bartrand, I just didn't bring the healer robe with me to take him out without issue from Varric. Hearing that he is the only companion who always stays with you no matter your decision-making is also peak. Well, with our #1 dwarven brother hyping us up a little, let's get right into the content today. I have a hit list of mages that have had it too good for too long, and at the top of my list is a wannabe politician of Tevinter named Hadriana.
Even though I know you're just doing this quest first, so you don't lose your favorite edgelord, this quest does thematically make the most sense to do first. Since the threat to Fenris is very real, as cool as I played it off, that was just me fiending for a kiss from my girl Eveline. If I really thought about it, we should have tackled this quest first for narrative reasons. Also, I see you're using Veracity, the new staff we got from the final fight last episode. Way to use your new resources.
Well, if you're going to wage war with the mage capital of the world, it's important to remember their weakness. And apparently the key to their downfall was looting one ancient forbidden one. This fire destruction staff is a fireball addict's wet dream. and it probably explains why one Desire Demon was able to take out a whole group of Seekers.
I also just realized we got 2 new Force Magic spells last episode, and we never really covered either of them. Shows just how much yaps we had to get through last episode. Joe, you want to go over them as our resident mage expert?
Sure thing, Barry. The first spell we got was Telekinetic Burst, which is pretty uninteresting compared to the other spells on the Force Mage list. It just sets up a Force Mine in an area and propels all enemies away from the center for some easy crowd control. The more interesting of the 2 spells is Gravatic Ring, which you saw us use in the final fight last episode and is the overall best spell for the specialization. The ring increases gravity around the blue area, slowing down anyone caught up in the field. If they are directly in the center, they are practically stunned. But if they are on the outside, they are just slowed a little. This is the strongest crowd control spell in the game. If you trap an enemy in the center, then you have practically taken out a ton of enemies out of the fight for 20 seconds, which is stronger than a damn Morgana Q.
Unfortunately, Fenris is also being affected by the ring, but considering all the enemies are locked into the core, distracting 6 enemies for 1 squad mate is a peak trade deal. If the enemies aren't attacking the squishy mages and the tank is still alive, then it's safe to say he did his job.
The only real downside to this spell is enemies that can hover that have different walking cycles that cause a really massive audio glitch, which I'm sure you are going to hear a few times when we fight demons later on. That being said, this spell alone played a huge part in my victory last episode. My hallway tactic wouldn't have been nearly as strong without a way to slow all the enemies at once.
Got to put that disclaimer so the headphone users can plan accordingly. That shit gives me anxiety after hours of playing Bethesda games, since the sound effect is the same as when New Vegas crashes. Also, the only longer wait than a new Elder Scrolls release is waiting for Tevinter Mage's force field to end.
Yeah, I'm gonna just cut ahead here. We have plenty of mages to kill today, and I can't be bothered to waste time on some no-name Tevinter henchman when we have named enemies to kill.
They were designed to protect against raids.
Interesting bit of world building from Fenris here. When the Tevinter Imperium stretched across the whole empire, there was far more infighting among magisters for slaves and resources.
Might be a good way to take out the Venatori without lifting a finger. Just tell one group of Venatori that another group has dozens of slaves up for. Grabs they are probably chaotic, stupid enough to trick too.
They are cartoon villains. After all, I'm sure playing hot potato with slaves would take out at least a few hundred of the dumb cultists before they catch on. Also, to stay consistent, take another shot, viewers, because this is the same cave where we found the Nexus Golem and found the Fell Grimoire last episode. Also, it's time to add to the list of things Tevinter has done that are obviously evil here, because they are already starting off good with the human sacrifices.
Of course, they always start with the elf slaves first. This table pose is giving Season 1 Dexter vibes for all Tevinters right now. I'm glad you didn't bring Meryl here, because he goes off on her by claiming she would do the same thing Hadriana did here, which is fucked.
Keep in mind that this is a male elf model on the table here. It will come up later in the dungeon. Well, between our demon-infused fire staff and upgraded force magic, it's time to clear our way through some no-name slavers. Definitely one of Hawk's more satisfying enemies to clear through. Also, apparently haste can work as a pretty decent counter to the friendly fire of the gravity ring, since double haste buff makes them attack slightly faster than normal speed, while the other enemies can't even move.
That's a pretty big band-aid to the intended cost of the spell, but I guess that's why haste will always be a double S-tier spell in every game. Realistically, I think the strategy behind this spell is to have a team of 3 ranged units, and then stick your tank in the center so all enemies go towards them instead. I'm just glad the enemy AI is too dumb to recognize the gravity chambers are actually a threat and try to leave them. Hell, they even just walked across it to get to Hawk. This is easy money.
This shit is honestly too easy, and it's not just because of the mage class. These guys are just bad, and we are doing them a favor by taking them out quickly.
The common fodder might be easy, but the actual mages here at least had some strategy and prep time in this dungeon. If you notice around these corner rooms, there are pressure plates that spawn fire traps. The mages will teleport around the corners to a more defensible position and even pop barriers while on the traps to deal damage without moving a finger.
Well, that was a nice strategy in theory, but I stun-locked him before he could do any Nightcrawler antics, so sucks to suck. Well, looks like we found a lone elf girl. Joe, don't get any ideas now.
It's a demon at work.
Donald, I like elves, but she is clearly young and scared. I have my limits. Besides, weren't you the one last episode who referenced 2 of your favorite quests being literally about banging elf girls?
I was, and you didn't disagree with me, so you're not breaking any allegations. Anyways, don't worry, I may be horny. But after the whole Alric situation, I have my limits, and Mommy Isabella is right behind me, keeping me in line.
So she mentions her father was cut and that they bled him. I'd like to remind you of who we saw when we came in.
Goddamn, Barry, you really had us pay attention to that just for it to be about something really sad. And no matter what we choose with her here, she's going to have to run back to the exit and see her father dead and bleed out on the table.
I imagine Fenris sees himself in Arana here at one point. Fenris probably thought everything with Daenerys was fine and cared about him to some degree, and just like her, Fenris was born into slavery along with his mom and sister.
The only solace Fenris gets out of that is the fact he has no early memories, which is likely why he is far more hostile to Daenerys than Arana here. Anyway, there's a lot of different outcomes to her fate here. But for the most content and for the Fenris rivalry boost, I say we take her into our home and pretend she is going to be our slave.
Hey, I'm giving her plenty of work experience, and I'm not a dirty blood mage. I don't see the problem with this. It's not slavery, it's just a work internship. Mama Hawk and Bowden could always use the executive assistant anyway. I'll meet you at my house. Our daily prayers to enchantment begin every day at 5 p.m.
If you send Arana away money or no money, Fenris summarizes she will be robbed or taken advantage of. This turns out to be likely true as she ends up in the Blooming Rose, although we don't know as a waitress or something worse.
She's a innocent and vulnerable elf girl. I think we can safely assume what happens there, unfortunately.
What the hell did Fenris call us here?
He didn't call us anything. He actually used a Tevener swear, which translates to shit on my tongue. My man Dorian also uses this line in the Trespasser DLC. Also, don't forget to loot the Tevener Chantry amulet in this room, which is Anders' Act 2 gift, which we can give him to fully cement our rivalry with him.
Yeah, it will piss him off, so I guess I will humor him. But it's time for the main attraction, our first named mage of the episode, to kill here. And by God, after all the mage glazing, I already know we are going to make her suffer with Fenris here.
Girl really said all of that to Fenris just to pop a shield and hide away. It's the equivalent of someone talking shit over a COD lobby and then disconnecting when they tried to clap back.
This is going to be a really easy fight, and that's actually an intentional design by the developers. Notice how the other Magisters had some strategy and tactics to them, but this girl just talks shit and throws random ads at us. Hadriana is in lore weaker, magically, and more unskilled than the average Tevener Magister. And she was actually bullied by that by the other Magisters, which caused her to be more violent and edgy. According to Fenris, that's why she was especially cruel to the other slaves, and why she would torture Fenris just to please her master Daenerys. Hadriana feels like the only way she can make it in the world is to kiss ass and take out her problems on those weaker than her.
That's incredibly pathetic. She is literally the Dragon Age equivalent of that one grown-up kid who makes being bullied in high school their whole personality.
Damn, I talk about wanting to dunk mages in the toilet, but if I did that to her, it would be like treading old ground. Still, now that I know she's a loser, kicking her ass is going to be extra satisfying. How the hell did she even get in charge of anything if she sucks this much? Coming from a business owner's perspective, Tevinter mages have to be one of the worst managers in the series. Every single one of these mage assholes have been spending the whole fight hiding in their safety bubbles, while a bunch of Tevinter soldiers get thrown into the Hawk and Fenris meat grinder. Working as a non-mage in this society has to be tough if the best job you can get is random fodder.
Non-mages are barely citizens in society, and military work is the most well-paid, although I'm not sure if these guys are official military or mercenaries. Also, the most this girl can do is summon a few skeletons. And Shades, that's some level 1 blood magic right here. Arana's dad and her friends really died just for her to summon some basic fodder, throw out a hemorrhage or something like a real mage.
Shut up, Joe. The blood mages don't need any sort of tactical advice from the mage main. Just keep letting her hide in her bubble while I kill all her dudes without opposition. I'm glad all the Tevinter mages adopt the same boring strategy as the matriarch in Mass Effect 1.
I wonder if that's what they were going for. I know the design teams of the two games is mostly different, but the similarities are pretty apparent. The only difference is at least the matriarch had some off-screen aura about her. Hadriana is just noted as a evil asshole who listens to whatever Daenerys says like a good dog.
You can definitely just say, bitch Barry, she tortured and tried to kill a squad mate. It's very appropriate in this case.
Between the high level and all the fade buffs we got right now. And the fact this mission is supposed to be one of the first you complete, as important as this was for Fenris, this really only ends up being a little warm-up for Hawk. I don't want to jinx any of us yet, but I think we have reached the point where our team is going to struggle far less because of our stats and equipment.
You say that just as Anders got one-shot Barry.
Good, it's a 2-for-1 special. We killed 2 abominations with 1 fight. Look at this nerd reaching for her stick like she wouldn't just cast a 10th goddamn barrier in this game.
Now she is trying to talk no jutsu Fenris here like this dude isn't constantly listening to Slipknot and Machine Head on repeat.
I just realized this is the only companion quest where we really don't get any morality choices besides Arana. There's no end-game decision choice here that impacts anything. Fenris just has a goal here and nothing stops him.
My Girl of Aliens quest doesn't have any options besides the flirt outcome getting a kiss, and Sebastian doesn't have much either, but overall you are correct. That probably just speaks to how adamant he is and how ingrained Fenris' trauma really is by this point.
So I take it from all of your yapping that none of these dialogue options really matter in the end?
None except saying she can't be trusted earns rivalry from Fenris, and deferring to him earns some friendship from him and Isabella, interestingly enough. Probably because Isabella still wants to bang him.
I don't even know why that earns rivalry, saying she can't be trusted. Isn't being a dick, it's the objective fact to never trust any mage from Teventer and bash their head in like POTUS did to that one dude who worked for low gain.
All right, I know I'm looked at as the trusting paragon in the group, but even I wouldn't take the edgy elf wielding a sword bigger than him with spikes on his arms at his word. I would ask them to at least back away first.
She fumbled that deal hard, but goddamn, she tore that robe up. That's how you work the art of the deal, Fenris. I am so proud of you.
Unfortunately, Fenris is so consumed by his anger he is not really prepared to display any other emotion besides anger. I mean, hell, we are just trying to have a calm conversation about how we might be able to get you in touch with your sister. But bro just wants to yell in our face instead.
Honestly, dude deserves a little bit of hate going off on all mages because he was tortured by 2 specific mages.
That's not very different from how prejudice works in real life. It's not like the average racist has met every single person of that race. A few bad interactions is all it takes. Although now Fenris is doing another Reddit argument that's the opposite of Anders' pro-mage argument.
Those 2 could really get along if they didn't make their entire personality about hating. Or loving mages, they actually have a ton in common, including a newfound edgelord love of killing mages.
Hey, that's only the justice side of him. The rest of the healer robe just complains about oppression and writes letters instead. So unless you want to stick my boy Fenris and Anders in a room together, this is not going to work. Also, Obama, I think you are greatly under-exaggerating the emotions Fenris is feeling right now. Bro just found out a piece of his past and killed one of his torturers. I think that would leave anyone conflicted.
I suppose that is fair. Fenris' whole stick is about being so obsessed with revenge and breaking away from his master that despite being physically freed, he can't escape his mental chain until he pulls a dead money and learns to let go. Varric says it best in his Act 3 quest, no matter how much he wants revenge, it won't really help matters.
So did Bo, Dan, or Mom let Fenris in, or did he just kind of wander in and sit down here?
I mean, regardless of who let him in or not, it's not like any of them would do anything except our young Lord Sandal, and he would respect Fenris's mage curb stomps too much to do that, despite him worshipping the false idol of Andraste.
So just like every other companion confrontation, when they show up at your house, that's a sign that a possible sex scene can occur. And Fenris's is no different. If we wanted to pursue his romance, the key flirt dialogue is right here at the end of this conversation.
Hey, I love my mage curb stomper, but he is a little too spiky for my taste. I like mental issues, but not that many mental issues. Now, the mage killer in Veilguard, however, is an entirely different story.
Thank you for explaining your romantic, somewhat cis preferences, Donald. Fenris might have been the best for the girls' romance we could have picked right behind Alistair. But Fenris hooking up with a mage hawk is all kinds of poetic irony that I will not bring up here.
Fenris can hook up with a mage hawk, and Anders can hook up with a Templar warrior hawk. Everyone holds on to their morals until a hawk shows up and trigger their player's sexual needs. Except, of course, Sebastian, the one straight man in all of Kirkwall, literally.
Now, I'm pretty sure Varric is straight too, although he is more crossbow sexual than anything else. Also, Fenris, I respect the mage smoke, but at the rate you're going, you are going to need a hobby to pass the time. We only have one more T-Vinter to kill together, and after that, you might need to find a side gig. I hear the Dalish are prime real estate this time of the year.
Jesus Christ, Donald. I asked earlier who let Fenris in, but Boden here let Arana in, so I imagine he just lets anyone in here who asks for Hawk. Well, let's go check to see how Arana is fitting into her new home. I'm glad she didn't get mugged on her way here like Fenris thought she would.
Well, it's probably because she was asking around for Hawk Manor, and the name drop of Hawk scared the shit out of the coterie. And Carta, after how much damage he's done to them in the last 4 years.
Also considering Meryl lives here too now, and we had this young elf girl ask which house is Hawk's manor. I'm pretty sure Hawk is a renowned elf lover among the nobles of Kirkwall. The bartender in The Hanged Man is going to have a field day.
So wait, because we told Fenris we are going to keep her as a slave, now we have to play along. We can't change our mind later or anything. What kind of crazy that this is the one choice that you can't double back on.
I'm fine with things as is. She gets work experience and stays away from the Blooming Rose. Sounds like a win-win.
How are you feeling?
Unfortunately, because we are going the slave route, there's a bug that will be apparent in Act 3 that will cause her to disappear. This doesn't happen if you offer to pay her as a servant, however. Although this might not be a bug, maybe she isn't entirely happy as a slave and tries to run away on her own, in which case, well, my bad.
My bad, keeping an actual slave is crazy work.
Well, speaking of our unpaid interns, let's go check on Fenris one more time for this episode, and hell, probably the last time for this act, and he is starting it off good by drinking instead of brooding.
Hey Fenris, I know you may be inclined to vent your trauma to us now that you're drunk, but have you considered doing some good old-fashioned gambling? It gives you more of a rush. Might help give you the hobby you need.
Fenris already is a part of Varric's Diamondback group in Act 3, along with Isabella, Donic, and Vengeance. Apparently Fenris is the usual winner of the games, which is impressive, considering how much of a cheater Isabella is, as we learn in Origins. For now, though, he has a really interesting story to tell us, and by God, does it tie with Isabella on the drama scale.
I'm down to hear some more drama, even if I know this is going to be a long one, but the least Fenris could do is offer us a little bit of that wine, if he is going to tell us his life story.
Well, everyone settle in with a blanket, tea, and snack, because like every Gator backstory, this is going to be a long one.
Damn, Fenris really made some friends for the first time in his life, just to backstab them. That is not being a true homie.
But to be fair, slavery often breaks down the wills of the slave through physical punishment and dependence. Fenris really did believe that there was no choice but to give up.
What's crazy is the Fog Warriors still injured Daenerys despite having to fight him and Fenris turning on them, so these guys put in some good work. Fenris probably could have won if he sided with them instead of folding.
So wait, the Fog Warriors taught Fenris the Qun and are rebels in Qunari lands, but they fight both Tevinter and Qunari, so are they humans or Qunari racially?
Well, Fog Warriors are natives to Searon. And while Searon has been occupied by the Qunari for over 200 years, the original natives of the island would be humans and elves. Searon has been contested for almost as long as the Qunari occupied it, by both Tevinter and the Chantry, and now the island is divided with one side being Qunari, and the other being Tevinter, with the Fog Warriors occupying the jungles in the middle. To answer your question, though, the Fog Warriors are humans who know the Qunari religion and language as a byproduct of the occupation, but don't adhere to the Qun.
They also have some weird fog-bending magic, too, which I guess they didn't bother to use against Daenerys. For some reason, sounds like these guys got nerfed by cutscene hacks.
Maybe Fenris killed the mage who was supposed to cast the fog magic. He did get the drop on him after all. Also, Iron Bull thinks the fog magic is alchemy, and Tevinter thinks it's a unique form of blood magic, but the consensus is no one knows what the hell it is. Given the trend of forgotten or unknown magic, it's likely the ancient elves invented it, and then it was lost to everyone but a select few of people in Searon who rediscovered it thanks to demons.
Seharon's just a weird place that makes a bunch of weird people. Isn't the original Ball of Anxiety from Seharon too?
Sten is from Searon as well as Fenris, in fact. We actually get one companion from everyone in the original trilogy that is from Seharon, as Iron Bull served almost 10 years in Searon before forming the Chargers.
So the fact that Daenerys found Fenris in the middle of the jungle with the Fog Warriors and then tracked him down everywhere he ran to in the free marches, including Kirkwall, sort of confirms that he can somehow track him with the lyrium markings.
It's possible he is tracking with the lyrium markings, although the more obvious answer is Daenerys made a phylactery of Fenris during the lyrium surgery since he is so valuable. We do see that non-mages can have phylacteries made, which is the case with Lucanus in Veilguard. The fact it takes him so long to act in this game, whereas Fenris was fleeing every other week from him originally, is either bad writing, or Daenerys having to hesitate now that Hawke is in the picture. Take your pick.
Hawke should make anyone hesitant, and we've given this game enough shit in my opinion, so I'm going with option 2.
Yeah, you would, Sleepy. Well, looks like we have earned Fenris's drunken respect. And with all the rivalry points racked up now in the last 20 minutes, it's safe to say we have maxed out his approval points now. Speaking of, let's go max out another companion's rivalry by giving him his Act 2 gift.
To the fallen.
Well, between the 30 conversations we have had with Fenris, and all but one of the gifts given all of our companions' approval is going to be maxed out now, with the exception of Sebastian, Anders, and Aveline. All of them should be maxed out in the next couple of episodes, though. Except for maybe Sebastian, but his approval being maxed out isn't as important as his loyalty to the squad is determined by something else.
That's going to come down to a key decision later, which is ultimately going to come down to who's playing the final mission. Also, Anders being interested in Tevinter always felt like devious work, especially in 2, where everyone from Tevinter is a blood mage slaver who attacks on sight.
Makes perfect sense. The healer robe would love a place where mages do the oppression instead of the other way around. Not to worry, though, soon they will all be put in their place.
Ominous, but yeah, this is another shift at Vengeance slowly altering his personality, because in Awakening Anders has issues with the Imperium, but here he sees it as a goal to work towards. Really the best bet we had for seeing the other side of Tevinter as Dorian and Gallus, before them everyone in Tevinter, was a assumed cartoon villain.
Enough about the mage capital. There will be time to kill them later. For now, I smell another mage to be killed, and we are going to do it Kuzlan style with the Scottish human noble.
Perhaps one day I can return one as meaningful.
Well, we were bound to cover Sebastian at some point, so I guess now is a good enough time to talk about why we dislike Sebastian, and not just because he is boring. Let's get into some cut content, boys.
All right, but if we are going to talk about how peak this quest could have been, I'm going to need some of this Flora wine right here.
Drinking so much that you are yelling at the fridge that there's no more beer left. Now this is peak.
Pretty sure that is just alcoholism, but moving on to the cut content of the Exiled Prince DLC. Sebastian's entire storyline was originally intended to focus around Nathaniel Howe instead of Sebastian Vale, but the concept was changed due to the possibility of Nathaniel's execution or death during the events of Awakening. This would have set up Awakening as a perfect prequel to Dragon Age 2, with both Anders, Nathaniel, and Justice all being main story companions. This is why Nathaniel already has a model and a quest in this game. He was supposed to be a full-fledged companion. The story around Nathaniel would have involved him stepping away from the Wardens to take out some noble connections that his father made in Kirkwall to repay his debt for his father's crimes, as well as establish his sister and nephew to safely settle in the city.
Wait, we could have had the peak of Nathaniel back and killing more enemies of Howe? Why the hell didn't we do that? I mean, Anders can die in Awakening too, and they just retconned that death away. That punch was for High Lord, by the way.
I think it's because they gave Anders out in his death scene by saying a pillar collapsed on him, and they never found a body. Nathaniel, on the other hand, can be hanged in front of the Warden Commander. That's much harder to retcon that death away. The revenge story seems pretty similar now to Sebastian's story, but what would the friendship and rivalry path be with Nathaniel?
Or not too dissimilar to Sebastian's either. The rivalry and friendship path of Nathaniel would have involved him joining back with the Wardens or fulfilling his original goal of becoming a Chevalier in the free marches, since he has been doing so much good traveling with Hawk anyway. I believe just like Sebastian, friendship would have been to stay in the Wardens, and rivalry would have had him become a Chevalier.
That means most people would have gone the friendship route, since as players we worked hard to build Nathaniel into the Wardens. I don't see why we wouldn't want him to stay there. What is it with these backstabbing nobles working with Tevinter slavers? And how the hell did this girl sneak dozens of slaves into her house anyway?
Probably the same way we did with Arana, just have them wander into the manor one at a time.
Bro is so lost in the goon sauce, he is actively doing all of this shit in front of an audience. I don't know whether to be disturbed or impressed like my girl Isabella is.
Well, to make things worse, this is Johann Harriman's husband doing all of this. So his own wife sold his soul to a desire demon so he can goon to elves in peace.
If a desire demon was involved, I doubt she had to force him. Bro is suffering from success right now. It's like watching a man drown in water while we are dying of thirst.
Yeah, that's great until you die slowly of starvation and losing your essence from the demon eating you away, like that one Templar in the Circle Tower.
Death by demon snoo is a lot better than blight poisoning. Or getting burned alive by a dragon. That's a pretty top-tier way to go in my eyes.
Damn, Bro wants to bring her brother in this mess. Sounds like he got some ideas from that one brothel in Baldur's Gate 3.
I wonder if that's the same elf that Sebastian sucker punched downstairs. If so, I doubt he's ready to join in. Don't forget to grab the Starkhaven bow on your right, Donald.
Yes, someone has to get the human noble's approval up, and I guess you two defaulted that task to me. Also, are they really going to try to pull a "you shall not pass on me"? Y'all were just gooning to elves and drinking 10 seconds ago. Just stick to that, and let me enact my vice of making a mage bite the curb.
Looks like they are practicing non-violent resistance against Hawk. Probably a good idea at this point to avoid a force wedgie.
They really had to pan to the torch like they were summoning some unimaginable horror, just for it to be the same shades. Some Desire Demon that we fought 20 times last episode alone. Also, really good team for this mission. Donald Isabella still has the lightning runes that Joe equipped during his episode. And Aveline has the lightning axe from the Nexus Golem that I gave her 2 perfect demon slaying team.
Any team with Mommy Isabella is peak Barak, and I'm committed to killing every mage today with 0 difficulty, and that means killing their demon summons too.
Sounds like some heavy foreshadowing, Donald. Let's see if you can deliver.
Like I said earlier, we have fully hit our squad's mid-game power spike, so we should have less issues going forward. The Arishok fight and the DLC encounters might be a different story as always, but this episode might be a victory tour for you, Donald.
Just watch me cook Joe. Unlike Obama here, I am going to have zero difficulty with any of these demons also. I already am ahead of the game here. This is the same map where we fought the dragon in the Wounded Coast last episode. Take another shot. Viewers.
I guess nothing is safe from you, Donald. This map is much more rare than other repeating maps, though it's really only shared by the Wounded Coast Cave. But this dungeon is far more longer than even that one. Still a repeating map, but definitely the most innocent of that group of maps.
Kind of crazy Donald is tackling the 2 easiest companion quests last when we have all these skill buffs. But I'm going to hold my reservation since he did get to pick last in the turn order here. I'm not about to pull another Awakening series situation on you once is triggering enough.
Only Joe Biden would harp on something that happened 6 months ago, but editor put that Awakening episode up above here so the viewers know what we are talking about. Anyways, while I keep killing these demons, is there any lore reason why the hell there is a goddamn full demon ruin underneath Kirkwall?
I imagine this was a Tevener ruin used for blood magic. And communicating with demons, it was controlled by ancient Tevener originally when they were at their prime blood magic, was as common as oxygen. The Desire demon that Lady Harriman found was a complete accident. She was apparently trying to renovate her home, and just stumbled into her, as we can read about in a few of the journal entries.
Girl didn't even try to argue with the demon to get a good deal. She immediately leaped at the first opportunity of power and got taken for a ride. Classic rookie mistake. I bet she didn't even bother trying to intimidate the demon for some snoo-snoo. Pathetic.
Most mages can't be like my cutie patootie Meryl in learning ancient magic able to cleanse the blight while not giving the demon almost anything in return, although I guess Meryl has some special keeper knowledge where she is able to bargain better with demons than the average mage.
Yeah, but she's still a blood mage that can cause a basement demon orgy like the Harrimans. If she isn't careful, all blood magic attracts demons. It's just a fact. It's like saying you can take crack recreationally.
A very colorful description, but not a crazy one either. Donald, blood magic is described as so powerful that once you start doing it, it's harder for mages to stop. Same thing with dealing with demons. It starts out small, but then you end up giving them everything. There's an interesting story about demons we can find further in this dungeon. It might be a repeat from Origins, but it's an important lesson about how deals with demons will always end up backfiring in the end.
Well, you're talking about the magic mirror that grants wishes, right? The summary of that story, viewers, is that an old woman was given a magic mirror that could grant 3 wishes. She wished to be young, then her husband got mad that she didn't wish him young too, so he wished for her to not be stupid. She then became smart enough to realize he never loved her. And the final wish was to get what they both deserved, which reverted her back to how she originally was, but now aware of how poor their relationship was. That one always stands out as more so folklore than a historic text, which is a nice mix-up to change how they present the codexes. It's one of Veilguard's less noticeable features that they mixed in more unprofessional codex entries like this folklore story in addition to pure lore. It gives a little something for everyone and helps make the world feel more lived in. The Elder Scrolls does this great too with the books.
Okay, thank you book nerds for your input. If it wasn't for either of you, I'm sure no one watching would even know what any codex entry says, because who the hell has time for that? The viewers are here to watch me bully elves, mages, and the occasional demon like this arcane horror who is pulling a necromorph moment of spawning in after we just killed all of his friends.
Oh, hello there.
On Jesus, we really can't go one episode without Desire Demon gooning. At least this one won't turn into the corpse of Eveline's husband, or worse, turn into Donic this time.
Look, Barry, we only get a few more Desire Demons in this series to look at. Just let us enjoy them and get it all out now.
Heavy pause. I am not letting either of you get something out. Keep that to yourselves.
Some people will never understand us, Joe, and that's really on them. But Nerdbama, speaking of caress from last episode, doesn't this Desire Demon have a few references to the Night Terror's quest if you do that one first?
Donald, how could you possibly know that? You have never played any of the DLCs for this game on your own admission. Also, you somehow remember the name of the Night Terror Desire Demon. Did you look up the goddamn wiki for Desire Demons?
Of course not, Barack. I just happen to have a healthy appreciation for Allure here. And I've picked up she might be more perceptive than the average demon. From my experience with Kitty, Veravil, Yavena, Redcliffe Demon 108, Caress, and Zebenkek.
All right, you just listed all the named Desire Demons we have met in our series. So far, I don't even know their names by heart. I'm just going to move on to your original question. Well, yes, this Desire Demon can know about the events of the Night Terror quest line as if you refuse her. An accepted Torpor's deal, she will taunt you saying, Why accept one deal from us and not another? If we refuse and say we would never betray our friends, she will similarly taunt, how loyal were your friends to you? Everyone has a price. Also, if you try to bargain with her and have Isabella in the party, and only if she was the one who got worked over by the Desire Demon in Night Terror, she will say, just make sure whatever it is doesn't disappear this time. Bloody demons with their promises and their stupid imaginary boats.
Donald, did you just try to bargain with the Desire Demon while Barry was dispensing game knowledge? What happened to being a Templar main?
Shut up, Joe. I was trying to see if this one would offer a hidden sex scene or something.
Donald, our squad mates were right in front of us. What did you think was going to happen?
Oh, like they're in any position to judge me, Isabella would have immediately joined in. We just helped Aveline get laid after she gooned over a corpse last episode, and Sebastian isn't a real human noble if he wouldn't be down for it.
Also looks like you're putting Sebastian on the rivalry path right now, Donald, so I guess that means we have an almost even split of rivalry and friendship squad mates now.
Wait, it's rivalry just to encourage him to be the prince he was born to be?
It's rivalry because it's not really what he wants to do. He would prefer to leave comfortably in the Chantry the same way Isabella would prefer to live comfortably being a pirate, and an outlaw instead of a lawful hero. Although honestly, the path where he takes over Starkhaven is much more interesting than the Chantry path, since at least this gives us some more impact in the world. Plus, it's the canon decision, no matter what path you set Sebastian on, he will take over Starkhaven and be mentioned ruling well into the time of Veilguard.
Crazy how Sebastian joins Aveline, and Isabella as being the longest surviving cast of Dragon Age too, depending on your actions. Bro probably has survived this long because of his overpowered specialization, although it looks like that's not helping you here since Isabella is already down.
Holy shit, what is going on with these health bars right now? Isabella just got one shot, and even the thick girl Aveline is barely hanging on. Who the hell is responsible for this? Oh, I didn't realize the Blood Mage was right behind Hawk all this time. I thought she just kind of disappeared.
This is a boss fight, and she is a boss. Why in the hell would she just disappear, Donald?
Even though it's a new series, my future sight is still unmatched. I literally said last episode that if you went against a demon horde like Obama did, but add one Blood Mage with hemorrhage, it would cook you, and here we already are.
No, god damn it, this is not over yet. I will not lose to another Blood Mage. This was going to be my moment. As long as I have the main character and this overpowered class. Oh shit, no.
You're cooked.
You're goddamn right he is. That was goddamn pathetic. Your first episode back and already needing help. Just sit in the corner and eat your McDonald's apple slice while I cook.
Barry, he is doing it again, my giblets.
Okay, I've been patient enough. This is not voice acting, and judging by how you are playing right now, you are not Donald. What is going on here?
Very perceptive nerd bummer. But I'm surprised you don't recognize me given all your yaps about me before now. I am the blind response to wrongdoing. I am moral equality. And I'm the last goddamn party member you recruited at the ass end of your series. I am justice.
Wait, I thought we removed you during my first episode. Did you break out and take over Donald? Because I can get Elon here to make another ray gun.
How adorable the tainted bard has concern for his friend. But I'm afraid your toys will no longer work on me. See, just like your Grey Warden joining what me and the President have is completely consensual. Now that the poor and illegal immigrant demons are taken care of and the filthy Blood Mage is all alone, allow me to elaborate. See, after you two left Donald to his own devices during his Deep Roads failure.
All right, let's see if you were all talk, you fade-loving ghosts.
Ha ha ha! Fuck you humans! I'm free again!
Oh shit, I forgot he was in there too. Well, that can't be good.
God damn it, he said he was going to take me with him, that lying egg bitch.
Yeah, he is known to do that.
Well, why the hell did you open your little box prison? Did you mistake it for the snack pantry, fat ass?
Yeah, keep talking like that and I will lock you back in here and give you to Baron. You know how much that little bastard loves suitcases. You will never see the light of day again. I have 2 questions to ask you and that will determine what happens next. 1, I remember you actually freed me from the Boob Mage's spell in episode 2, even though I was perfectly fine, by the way. So why do that? And 2, I remember Barack saying something about you giving the healer robe a strength buff. When you two fused, can you actually do that?
Well, one, don't flatter yourself, but while I occupied your body, it just felt gross to be controlled by a demon. So I removed that out of pure comfort on my own end.
Geez, and people call me a tsundere.
Secondly, yes, I could enhance your perception quite a bit. 2 heads are better than 1, and I have intimate knowledge on the enemy's seeing as how I was once a part of the game code too. But why would that matter? I have no need to be used and tossed aside by you, or live in that grease-filled head again. I don't get anything out of this hypothetical idea.
Well, I know that's not true. You have always wanted to live in the mortal world, and you get to do that through the eyes of a billionaire president, so you can literally experience whatever you want.
Not good enough. I'm not some cheap desire demon that just wants to live around and feed off some human. I want to make an impact. Why do you even want to fuse with me, Templar Main?
Because Joe and Barack have had it too good with their cheats for too long, and I am not losing my chance to punch the egg or let down my wife, Morrigan, for the best romance.
All this for a waifu, how noble. Well, I will agree to fuse back together with you, and you can call me in for the assist anytime you want. But in exchange, I want something else.
I don't like how that sounds. You better not do anything to Morrigan or Isabella.
That's what you care about? No, nothing so mundane. Donald, let's just say one day I'm gonna call in a favor you have to agree to as well. Trust me, what it is, I'm sure you won't mind.
All right, well then what is it?
I won't say anymore. Now Joe might be fooled, but eventually Barack is going to want the exposition, and I don't trust you to keep a secret until it comes up. So do you accept this deal?
Unlimited favors for exactly one in return? If it gets me my props in the series, you have yourself a deal.
And so there you have it. Now that the boss is dead, and the pathetic blood mage spawn have been freed, I'm going to take my leave. Good luck on this death competition now, you liberal cocks.
My goddamn head, but hey boys, I beat the boss in under a minute. Easy money, right?
Donald, you didn't beat shit. We all saw how you willingly implanted a terrorist Fade spirit into your brain just to keep yourself ahead in a Dragon Age death competition.
Hey, if Joe gets to waste taxpayer dollars with a synthetic Grey Warden joining, I get to do the same, making a deal with a harmless blue spirit that cost our country $0 of our viewers' taxes or donations.
Well, better make room for another seat in our future playthrough, because between Themey and his two siblings making a Veilguard appearance, and now Donald's edgelord spirit, we are going to be here a while. Also, going back to the quest, finally, do you boys think Flora and the rest of her family were victims, or they willingly still went with all the demons?
If a robe breathes, they lie. It's as easy as that. However, that girl's husband was completely valid for folding to desired demon gooning, and this girl here does have a massive chest, so maybe there is hope for her yet.
Thanks, Donald. Sebastian gets pretty philosophical here about the demon not being able to create desires that weren't there. But the mom who started all this implied she gave the souls of her children to allure, so I doubt it was their fault, despite maybe being weak-willed. Well, in the interest of being fair, we do have a few Sebastian dialogues to get through, including the gift dialogue, so we might as well take this opportunity to evaluate his character, cover his background.
Fair enough, Barry. Donald, this is your raw, unedited first impression of him. You already can tell how me and Barry think about him, but what are your thoughts?
Honestly, I like this guy overall. His quest is a nice reference to the human noble from Origins. He has a strong specialization tree. He is a contentious Scotsman, and while he is fumbling his leadership grind, I'm going to do everything I can to get him to lock in. I see someone who is just being weighed down by his fake religion. If he just let that weight go, bro, would be a top-tier companion. Overall, I'd rate him somewhere in the B tier.
And does that ranking go any lower if you realize he is a DLC companion, so despite being not a unique take like Javed and Shale, and you yourself admitting he is only mid-tier, we still had to shell out money for him, unlike most other companions.
Well, I didn't even have to pay for him since we are on your account. But even if I did, I'm not poor, and I respect EA having a money grind. Like, if they're trying to maximize their bag on games, who am I to stop them? We are all in this world to grind and make money at the end of the day.
I guess we can't expect Donald to be outraged at money grabs. Truthfully, I wouldn't mind Sebastian too much if he just wasn't an Athena Glazer. And he wasn't the only companion who could use bows, which means if you didn't shell out $10 or get the pre-ordered deluxe edition bows, were straight up useless in this game unless you trained your hawk to be an archer.
Well, I think I mostly share Joe's opinion with a few extra opinions that I think I've made clear throughout the series. But this has been enough of a roast of Sebastian for my taste. I'm thankful you covered his side quest, and that at least one Dragon Age gamer enjoys this guy. It's like that one obscure Pokemon that is still someone's favorite.
Yeah, you kind of forced it on me, so I didn't have much of a choice. Yes, I will be doing his quest in Act 3 too, I imagine, since I know you two don't see the potential in this guy.
Oh, hey, hell no. I will tackle it. I call absolute dibs on that question. If I don't get it, I will exit this playthrough.
Wait, you guys spent this whole mission complaining about this guy, and you dumped his Act 2 quest on me, but now all of a sudden Joe wants to do his Act 3 quest. What gives?
Trust me, Donald, we don't want to get into that right now, but let's just say there's a very specific reason Joe wants to handle that quest, and it will make more sense when we get to that. Probably will be whatever episode Joe tackles Mark of the Assassin for that same reason now that I think about it.
Well, we got through a whole character analysis of this guy in the DLC, and we are still halfway through his conversations. Do we have any interesting lore on this guy? Barack, I feel like we have barely talked about him as a person.
Well, unfortunately, the most interesting thing about him is how he acted in his past. Something Isabella comments on As Like Me, Isabella summarizes that she would have preferred to meet Sebastian during his younger, wilder days. As the story about the Starkhaven longbow suggests, Sebastian had a much closer relationship with his grandfather than he did either of his parents. His parents focused on his older siblings more because they were the approved heirs to the throne, but Sebastian's grandfather favored Sebastian for his kindness and skill with the longbow. However, when his grandfather died when he was a teenager, he began acting up, drinking, whoring, and bounty hunting. He would often hunt down criminals or Tevener slavers operating in the free marches, then take the gold, and spend it in a tavern to find a new girl for the night, all of this when he was still only 16.
So his parents didn't like the image of him being a slutty mercenary, so they sent him away to the Chantry?
They sent him away to the Chantry largely because of political reasons, not because they actually cared about him doing bad shit. They were worried that him banging tavern wenches would one day sire a bastard that would have a rightful claim to the Starkhaven throne, and possibly challenge his siblings, and they imagined that having a child in the Chantry would look great for the family's publicity, and give them political connections like, say, Grand Cleric Elthina in the future.
Speaking about Elthina, here she is complaining about Sebastian being too productive and leaving the Chantry with Hawk too much. Maybe Hawk encourages people to be heroic because the city is actively being occupied by a military force, a serial killer, and Templars are tranquil mages so they can commit SA on them. Kirkwall is a shitty place in praying, while never leaving the Chantry doesn't do shit to help that.
Oh damn, Joe, I thought you were the maker believer among us. I'm surprised you're not more on Sebastian's side when it comes to his and Elthina's beliefs.
Barry, I mostly just like the Maker because of my beautiful bard Liana, and because I think there should be more magic in the world besides the ancient elves, doing literally everything that includes the Paragons too, mind you. Elthina, though, gets no pass from me no matter how much Sebastian likes her.
I guess if we are being completely fair to all sides, there is one bit of praise we can say about Elthina. When Sebastian was given to the Chantry, it was Elthina who not only made his stay there tolerable, but even gave him money to leave the Chantry since she believed no one can be forced to serve the Maker. Giving him freedom while his family was forcing him down a singular path is what ultimately led him to the Chantry in the end, because she was the first person besides his grandfather that gave him the option to choose.
You're telling me the only reason this dude isn't more based and willing to take up the throne grind like Palin is because of Elthina? That is not endearing her to me at all.
Can't blame you, and because of her influence, Sebastian is not at all willing to take up the throne at the moment, which means the kingdom of Starkhaven is still contested. It's not like we had an earlier game that showed how dangerous and bloody civil wars can get in this world if there isn't a decisive decision to place a rightful ruler on the throne. I'm sure Starkhaven will be fine. It's not like there's any oppressed class that is locked away in towers that plan on rebellion soon.
Well, after 3 hours of side quests, it's time we finally tackle some plot again. Let's put on my detective hat and fulfill my destiny as Detective Donald. But first, Barack wanted to talk to Meredith's #1 mage hater, Cullen. Here, have any more controversy you'd like to share with us to slander his good name, or is he added back to the Inquisition waifu wars?
No, he's not added back. And no, there's no Greg Ellis updates. Either the news has been radio silent since his arrest in January. I wanted to talk to him here to get an update on the Templar situation, and also because he has unique dialogue after Anders' side quest about the Tranquil Solution. You know, we have a mandate to show all the hidden dialogue points in this game.
This conversation is also where he references knowing another Amel once a long time ago. If you were a female mage warden, he will say that she was very special.
Once you meet a main character, you can't ever fully get over her. It seems he does the same gooning in Inquisition during war table banter.
You can't blame him. Some of the flirty dialogue with Cullen in Origins is pretty intense, like that one freaky girl you met at college. This dialogue here is harder to miss since the gallows is still a main quest area we go to a few times in Act 2. Oh, their vengeance, I know Cullen is paranoid, but that's a huge leap to compare him to Sir Ulrich. Even his voice actor hasn't reached that level yet, and he has actual charges.
Is no better than death. They want no controls on them at all.
Cullen actually is just a Templar who has a healthy level of racism, for the robes comparing the two is actively crazy and a reminder I shouldn't take this healer robe too seriously. What's that? No, I'm not going to give him credit just because you're friends with him. We are business associates. Stay in your lane.
It's hard to keep recruitment up enough to maintain.
You know, playing back the last few episodes in my head, stuff like this seems more obvious now, however. Are you really still trying to do more Templar work after we cleared out their quest log last act?
Curb stomping mages doesn't take a vacation, Sleepy, and neither do I. Besides, we could always fatten our pockets a little more. Looks like it was pointless, bro. Is closing ranks after the Blooming Rose incident.
There is a side quest bounty hunter that we get because we sent Grace to the Circle. But honestly, there's no story or interesting lore to this quest. It's just a kill quest that doesn't have a map marker. The only thing interesting is a single longsword with the messy kills stat that is slightly worse than the axe Aveline has equipped now. But it does have a more unique design than a regular blade.
I don't need a reward. Killing mages is payment enough. Just point the way to where I start the quest because Cullen is sure keeping quiet about it. He won't even let me meet Mommy Meredith.
Also, America's still being the fun police. Every joke we make bounces off him like he has a magic cylinder on his field.
To be fair, we are talking to him after he got chewed out by Meredith for trying to stop a serial killer that we know also exists. I wouldn't be in the best mood either, especially since he spent 3 years investigating murders only to find one suspect that was a dead end.
All right, I know our companions have been pretty inactive these last 3 years, so maybe we don't have too much room to talk, but we gave this dude bones, a connection, and a goddamn location being the Foundry, and somehow this dude took 3 years to find one suspect who, spoiler warning, is only somewhat involved in the disappearances. I know we can assume he is inept, but given he is a non-Cullen Templar in Kirkwall, I think it's safe to say bro just spent far too much time in the Blooming Rose to be productive.
You would think if my guy was getting lucky at the Blooming Rose, he would be a bit more friendly to Hawk and able to take a joke.
Just like a Aveline lover in this game, Merrick doesn't get lucky at all, despite his attempts. Merrick usually sits in the corner alone. I guess he is too nervous to talk to anyone.
Little bit of a self-burn there, but that does track with everything else going on. I still don't know how they haven't raided that Foundry from top to bottom in 3 years. I mean, Aveline knew about the Foundry, and if it's abandoned, you would think searching that place would be far more beneficial than some random Orlesian's apartment.
I think this is a clear for the plot moment we are supposed to forget, that the Foundry existed, otherwise the story just doesn't work. And we don't get the dramatic ending that the game is going for.
So Americ here says there's no way to connect the bones to the person who has died, but the Morn Watch definitely still exists, including one mage operating there who has completed his training already. We could have had an expert shipped out to solve this crime.
Joe, that sounds expensive as hell. The Templar Order doesn't even want to bother searching a noble's house correctly. Do you think they want to pay the travel and expert fees of some non-circle mage from Navarra? Besides, Kirkwall, of all places, definitely doesn't need any new weird undead magic being brought to the Blood Mage's attention. We have enough corpses running around.
That was still a nice tie-in to Veilguard Joe, but yeah, there's no way that type of magic was even thought about by the writers, let alone available to a random Templar in Kirkwall.
I'm wrong, then I'm
Time to hit up a Hightown mansion for the 5th time and take another shot because I am sure we have been to this type of mansion before, boys.
Goddamn, not only does this guy have the same interior designer as the Harrimans, but he has the same Demon Home defense system as Daenerys did. I imagine Shade Alert is a really affordable system in Kirkwall, thanks to the CEOs of Blood Magic being so close.
Well, make that was so close. That girl got sent to the Shadow Realm for a few decades at least. But I never got this kind of plot line. He just has demons on standby to attack anyone who comes in at night but not knowing who is there first. It seems like such a dick move. And that implies the demons are triggered by some kind of proximity system. So what's the logistics here?
Yeah, thanks, Nerd Bama. I can take it from here. Something Demon Gangbang Orgy Part 2. Editor, do your thing and make a new meme.
Damn, you know we have spent the last 2 episodes each being over an hour long, just fighting the same goddamn demons, and these next 2 quests aren't about to change anytime soon.
Yeah, that's a definite problem with Act 2 and 3 specifically. There is really strong unit diversity in this game, only slightly less enemy types than Origins. But because of the rushed development time, it was probably easier to make more enemies just be demons for both writing than animation asset management. Also, good choice of party members for this quest, Donald. All great dialogue, and Anders has plenty of magic yaps to talk about it first.
I don't think the guards raiding the estate met that particular reception.
Yeah, I know Varric is peak here, and I'm done with Sebastian after his quest. Also, he is a confirmed blood mage. That's all I need to know. Time to find his head in a nearby toilet. They are due for a meetup.
I guess Aveline's guards don't know what blood magic vials look like. You think they would cover that in Kirkwall guard basic training?
They probably don't teach it to protect Templar jobs. Also, we have an apology from Meredith Gascard. Must have connections even higher than the Viscount.
You know, I'm honestly amazed that Mommy Meredith took the time to apologize to this Orlesian dude. She is the most powerful person in Kirkwall that doesn't answer to anyone, and she still took the time to punish Emmerich and have her tranquil servants write an apology.
Emmerich is lucky he doesn't work for Chick-fil-A. Meredith's apology would have been to publicly flog him in front of Gascard, and then dip his balls in the fry cooker for good measure.
Very graphic, thank you, Joe. But looks like Varric agrees with you two. There's no way Meredith would have sent an apology unless Gascard knows someone.
Yet another reason to dislike the fantasy French, but considering this dude is a blood mage, I doubt the Chantry is going to miss him when he's a stain in his house.
Well, I guess the pretense is over. Donald sees a unchained mage that isn't hot, and all he sees is red.
Well, I feel like this is a pointless plea, but we get more dialogue enrichment if we keep him alive. And Gascard has a lot of different endings depending on our choices, including one where he turns good and renounces blood magic.
Wow, good for him. He has remorse. I could honestly care less. Not only is he related to the serial killer, but he is fascinated by his disgusting experiments for his own gain and can turn on us later. Even not using meta reasons for our decisions, we know for a fact he is a blood mage who summons demons and kidnapped a scared woman who fits the bill for the killer's victim. His story about his sister feels like bullshit too.
All right, fair enough. I'm not going to stop you from making a choice that honestly doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Also, Varric's line here saying it wasn't me, it was the one-armed man. There's a reference to the TV series The Fugitive, which aired in the 60s, but also had its own movie in 1993.
Also between Gascard, Darius, and Harriman there, sure are a lot of blood mage residents in Hightown, and that's not even talking about the other mage nobles like Hawk, his 5 mage cousins, one of which being the human mage warden, or the Dew Lunset boy in Act 3. At this point, it would be easier to find a noble in Hightown that wasn't a mage. The Templars must really not have much authority over the nobility here.
That's why when my Templar Hawk became Viscount, in my playthrough, my first order of business was to start up stop and frisk Templar searches in Hightown to increase mage catching by 200%.
Incredibly made-up roleplay numbers there. Anyways, if we trusted Gascard here, the quest will go on to the final stage. But since Donald is going to fight him here, we are going to have to engage in a Scooby-Doo-like chase around the mansion, fighting more of his demon security system.
This time I have the OG squad with me and 2 mages for that overpowered crack speed buff. I'm confident this is going to be easy goddamn money now. I have to lock in so Joe can surpass me in Death's next episode during the Arishok fight. But Joe getting clapped up aside, I have a comment question prepped for us while I rack up Inquisition levels of demon kills. Due to no particular relevance to this questline, viewers, in your opinion, what is the saddest moment in the Dragon Age series to you personally? For me, I have to give it to the breakup conversation that Morrigan gives you in Base Origins during the final battle of Daenerys, especially when she says that your relationship meant nothing to her and that she is going to leave and you will never find her again. The fact that this was true until Witch Hunt and I had to wait over a year to get a proper happy ending nearly broke me as a person. Hell, even during the Ultimate Edition, the fact we have to play through Awakening first before even seeing Mommy Morrigan was too much of a wait, and I couldn't stop thinking about the pain in her voice when she said this meant nothing to her. It's goddamn heartbreaking.
All right, Donald, I respect the devotion to your waifu at the end of the day. And I can't even fault you, Donald, breaking up with Liliana during our playthrough. Nearly broke me. I almost dropped out of the 2020 election because of that one.
Joe, you did drop out of the 2020 election, though.
Yes, but it was so I could make the spell tier list, not because of Liliana trying to keep up Barry. As for my saddest moment in the series, I have to give it to Varric's conversation with the Inquisitor. If you sacrificed Hawk in the Fade. Bro starts out with his normal bullshit Hawk stories, but he breaks down crying halfway through the story. And you can see the moment of realization that his best friend is dead and not coming back. That's a type of raw pain that this game rarely shows as fresh as with Varric. And then hearing say he has to write to Hawk's partner telling him what happened breaks you even more, because you realize they don't even know that their second half is gone. I've only ever seen this scene on YouTube. I could never bring myself to actually kill Hawk in Inquisition, but it's still a top-tier sad scene.
All right, good picks, boys. I have to give my saddest moment to listening to Donick Bangaveline on her desk last episode. I have never felt pain like that before. My heart nearly spilled out on the Oval Office.
Yeah, I'm not with you on that, Barack. That shit was funny as hell.
Barry, you can't pick that one. You have to choose something different. We just saw that last episode. And honestly, I'm with you, Donald. Laughing about it is still my go-to.
You guys are terrible friends, but whatever, if I can't pick her Act 2 quest, then I will go with the Darkspawn Camp Ambush in Origins if you are a female Dalish Elf Warden. The first time playing it, you think this is just an average ambush, an easy money, but then you see out of the corner of the screen Tamlin, whom you long since assumed had died, and this late in the playthrough you may have even forgotten about. You certainly never expected to solve his disappearance here or find out how terrible his fate has really been all this time. Just seeing your friend like this or your implied lover and having to put them down is a punch in the gut. And one of the hardest kills I've had to do in the series since you have to kill him yourself.
All right, good picks, boys and viewers. Let us know your saddest moment in the Dragon Age series. In the comments below, our editor reads every single one, and his favorite will be featured in the next episode. But with all that being said, Barack Mine, featuring our favorite comment from last episode.
For sure thing, Donald, our featured comment comes from one of our biggest supporters, once again, answering the comment question with his super thanks, Mr. Zipbox, who said the most memorable secret boss was the Asunder questline for the admittedly shitty reward it gives if you fight the Pride Demon. I admit it's pretty lame that you collect all these parts around the deep roads just for the money reward to be tied to a clearly evil decision. But it's one of the few bosses in Origins that doesn't have a unique reward, so that makes it stand out more based on that alone. Thank you for your comment and super thanks as well. Can't wait to hear what your saddest moment is in Dragon Age.
Speaking of goated comments and super thankers, since we are still just blowing through demons, let's go through a few more donations for the romance competition, starting with our resident egg lover, Robert Wadsworth, who gave two $10 donations to Solus. Once again, your consistent support is always greatly appreciated, man. We don't know where we would be without this constant support. And as always, you are helping keep production on a fast pace towards Inquisition. Thank you for all the egg and elf love.
Next up, we have a big wallet donation from another big supporter, Antti Jotasniemi, with the 100 European monies, who is keeping the Josephine romance dreams alive and making the egg lovers among our viewers sweat by having both the human romances catch up. I respect your grind and deeply respect your wallet, more man. Thank you for this insane level of support. As always, we never expect it, but your consistency helps keep our consistency up.
Next up, we have a few based Cassandra romance donations. First off, we have a third big wallet donator in Joe Million, who donated $70 for my girl. You also sided with the OG High Dragon being the best boss, so I have to respect it. We also have $20 from Corey going towards Cassandra as per your request. From all of us in the editor, I greatly appreciate all your support in these videos and your efforts to make sure I don't sit in the cuck chair in Inquisition. And your consistent dedication is something we could never imagine. No matter what romance you pick, we thank you all for your support.
Wow, I'm actually amazed you cleared a blood mage without at least 3 deaths. I'm not sure if that's luck or if your spirit buff makes you genuinely better.
It's not that surprising, Joe. The first fight in the bedroom is honestly the only skill check in this mission because you can't exit the room until you deal enough damage on Gascard. But Donald and his mage hating rage focused on him right at the start.
Thank you for the glaze, Barack, but now this hot Templar here said Emmerich wanted to meet me in Lowtown for my reward. So let's get on that and take another shot, because this is the same map where Joe dealt with the poison gas problem in episode 6.
Honestly, given the crime rate and the fact this area is pretty abandoned, I wouldn't be too surprised if it was the exact same alley. Also looks like America's sleeping boy's bro needed a power nap from all that not investigating he was doing.
Joe, he's not sleeping. That man is dead.
Damn dude must have been one of those few fake Templars in the gallows who throw smoke balls instead of holy smites. Bro finally tried to do some investigation just to get ganked by shades.
Looks like there was a desired demon in the mix, given his attraction to the blooming rose that may have been what did him in.
Oh, never mind totally understandable death.
I don't know why I even bother pointing out the little details anymore. But something about this quest that always gives me a oh shit moment is that the killer not only knows about Emmerich, but he wrote our name on the letter too, which means he knows who we are too.
Sounds like some bad foreshadowing there, but that is something that can dawn on the player far faster than it can dawn on Hawk. We don't even get that as a possible dialogue option.
Well, we should probably cover some of the other outcomes of this quest if we had let Gascard go. Laura the Templar, who gave us the note, follows us to the meeting and will confront us on who could have killed Emmerich, her first thought being that it's Gascard. We obviously know it's not Gascard, but roleplay-wise, Hawk can assume it is him, and that this trap was a double cross. If we tell Mora it was him, and then reveal that he told us to meet him in Darktown, he will be executed off screen, and the next quest will play as if we had killed him ourselves.
Seems kind of pointless unless you're speedrunning this game, I guess. You miss out on the experience fighting him as well as the loot, and you don't get the dialogue enrichment to keep him alive.
Yeah, it's one of the few flat-out wrong decisions, but it's a nice touch because my first thought when I played. I'm spared this guy was he had double-crossed me, so I guess it's the game's way of seeing if you fall for the trick. We don't tell Moira it's him, or we lie and say we don't know where he went, then we can meet Gascard in Darktown at the start of the next quest and get a shortcut towards finding the killer, since he will use the blood he drew from Alessa to track her back down to the Foundry.
Wait, who the hell is Alessa?
The girl you just saved from Gascard that ran off while we did the comment question.
Oh, we never got her name. I was kind of confused. I just wanted smoke with the blood mage. Saving her was just collateral.
Some mage sent that thing here to kill him. Why would anyone... Oh, Maker. The murders. Emmerich was right. He was getting too close. He suspected a man...
Well, Emmerich died, but at least everyone at work knows he wasn't a crazy old man. He actually had some good theories. Even if he was a shitty investigator, I guess this girl is going to take up his job and spend every night at the Blooming Rose gathering evidence.
Enchantment! No, Leandra. Leandra.
Gamlin, you better wipe your feet and kneel down properly before you ask anything from the young Lord Sandal.
Really pretty rude of Gamlin, even if he doesn't believe in a god, because he had a hard life to not adhere to the religious customs of the Hawk household. I guess Sandel is in a good mood, or else Gamlin would have become a glass statue in our manor.
God does look after drunks and fools. I guess Gamlin qualifies for both of those categories. I almost would have forgotten about Gamlin if it wasn't for this quest. We really haven't heard anything about him since the Will quest at the start of the game.
Well, we will have one more quest in Act 3 that covers Gamlin, which I will probably tackle in my next episode, so we can cover his full backstory then. But for now, we should focus on our mom receiving white lilies in the mail.
Oh, shit!
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Wait, what's wrong with white lilies?
Joe, goddammit, we learned that both Ninette in Act 1 and Alessa in the last quest both got white lilies before disappearing.
Oh, right, sorry, the Fade Demons must be making me a little tired. We better go hit up that foundry.
Joe, a little tired is like saying Arizona and Florida are a little hot. I will give Gamlin two things, bro. Respects. The ancient sport of gambling, and dude does show up when it comes to his sister. Somehow this is the bum's second contribution to the main story of Dragon Age.
It's why I can't really bring myself to hate Gamlin. Dude does help when it counts, even if he did kind of screw us over with the inheritance. It's hard to be mad about that now that Hawk ended up buying it all back anyway. Also, we get some Meryl dialogue. Let's go, boys. Who?
If I may say so, I don't think Mistress Neryl is exactly, comfortable staying in the estate.
She's pretty.
She still goes to the alienage often, usually when you're not home. Something draws her there.
Before we head to the Foundry, we should hit up Moira again. She has some more unique dialogue about our mother disappearing, along with Adeline.
I'm only doing this because she's nice to look at, and I trust the holy aura of a Templar more so than the Guard Union.
You know, asking if she has any leads is crazy considering Emmerich died last night. I'm amazed they even looked at the body yet.
That's sort of by design of this quest. All that remains is the second to last main quest in Act 2, since you have to finish Prime Suspect and Offered and Lost on the Qunori side in order for this one to unlock. However, the usual order is doing Black Powder and Offered and Lost, since those are the first quests we get and they flow nicely back to back. I believe for the kidnapping to be more paced out the order of quests, the designer intended was Black Powder, First Suspect, Offered and Lost than this one, so there's a natural delay between Emmerich's death and your mother's kidnapping.
Yeah, but I don't give a rat's ass about being optimal even if I had that choice, but I guess if there's some YouTuber who wants to do a video about playing Dragon Age 2 as the developers intended, then you're welcome for the Act 2 roadmap.
Did Gamlin punch that small child?
Pretty sure he did, and just when we were about to give him some credit for being not that bad too. Maybe it's a good thing bro never had to be a father to a young child.
That's just what happens when you don't bring your dad more beer. Anyway, I don't have much time to barter with this kid, and Hawk wipes his ass with 5 silver, so go ahead and tell me what you know.
Damn, we really said you need some new Jordans while you're at it, little guy.
The major change again, if we had Gascard alive, is we could visit him in Darktown and automatically teleport to the Foundry from there, which doesn't really save more than a few seconds of time. We can also visit the entrance to the Foundry if we did the first sacrifice quest. And Hawk will remark about last seeing the killer there, but we would need more evidence before searching there, so we can't actually skip this Gamlin cutscene without Gascard.
Welcome to the railroad, choo-choo. I hope you didn't care about your mom or anything, players.
I have to admit, even though we are kind of shitting on this quest, I do always feel locked into the stakes. We as the players might not feel too endeared to Leandra. She doesn't do much in the story after all. But we know how important family is to Hawk, and we can share his tension and fear in this moment.
It's one of the few times the voice protagonist in Dragon Age 2 works. Even if female Hawk's voice actor hits harder, both voice actors do a great job of conveying the anxiety and fear that's going through their heads right now.
Gamlin really said, "All right, Hawk, you go follow the blood trail towards the torture dungeon. I think I left my stove on at home or something. I'll check in later." Well, we have him cornered now. It's time to solve this murder mystery once and for all.
It's probably obvious, but the entire theme of this quest line is the writer's Dragon Age variant of the murder mystery subgenre. Even the title of this quest is a reference to the novel All That Remains by Patricia Cornwell, which also involves the hunt for a serial killer.
I'm not sure how successful they were. The whole point of this quest is just the stress of Hawk losing his mom. I never really got invested in who the killer is, since I just figured it's some random mage. A murder mystery only works when the killer turns out to be someone we knew like. Can you imagine if the killer turned out to be Cullen or Thrask? And we could put the pieces together of missing mages through other quest lines to tie into this one. The Templar twist would also explain why Emmerich could never find clues and was reprimanded, because the killer was a superior officer. This quest could have the Dragon Age version of the Black Dahlia killer from L.A. Noire.
That was a fire argument until you started bashing Templars sleepy. Making the killer a mage helps balance out the mage versus Templar argument, and gives even a mage Hawk a genuine reason to side with the Templars.
And with both of you, the killer being a seemingly innocent character would be a crazy tie-in. But them being a mage makes sense for the later plot of Act 3 to give Hawk some stakes, even though this quest kind of shoves the mage-Templar debate down your throat.
I may not approve of your Templar glazing, but I do like your team choices for this quest. You've done a good job showcasing all the different companions this episode. And now we're finding Hawk's mom with his two oldest friends and his girlfriend that's Peak.
Yeah, I figured since we are killing more demons, I might as well make the blood mage and her nature damage more useful and clear them out for my last challenge of the episode. Besides, this quest has more blood magic slander than any other quest in Dragon Age 2. If there was one quest that might give the elf pause, it's this one here.
Meryl might do some questionable spells from time to time, and she talks to a demon once or twice. But she is nowhere near this far gone or would ever get to this point. The second her magic even slightly harms someone other than her, she would cry and give up blood magic full stop.
I like the inclusion of Aveline too. Not only did she set us up on this path by asking us to talk to Emmerich, but she has known Leandra the longest and would naturally be the one who cares about her well-being second only to Hawk.
Damn, the quest isn't even going to try to make me miss this cutscene. I guess the game designers said Hawk really needs to check in on this old lady's corpse.
I'm starting to buy your quest order, Barry, otherwise this killer got really busy in 24 hours, since that means he kidnapped her last night, killed her, and did what he needed to do with her for the ritual, then the next morning kidnapped Mama Hawk. And did the same thing. Bro must be huffing that Templar lyrium to be up that late. I mean, just reading his notes creeps me the hell out. I read them like he is talking like Sidious every sentence.
Any difference in this scene if Gascard is still alive, Barack?
Nope, Gascard is pretty quiet throughout this dungeon. Until the very end, likely, so he doesn't give away his true intention of why he's there. Hell, he doesn't even fight with Hawk throughout the dungeon, I guess, because he's saving his energy for the final fight.
Speaking of final fight, before we get to that, do we want to cover another tactical setup while we are just killing the same demons we have seen over a dozen times?
Sure thing. Since we did Aveline's last episode, it only makes sense to do our boy Fenris next. Editor, do your thing here. So we struggled with his settings the most since we started by just putting everything in his tree. But we settled that managing thread is key, regardless of whether you are a two-hander warrior or a tank. And also we couldn't find a useful time to use Spirit Pulse, since it ends up killing our own mages instead of the enemies, which I'm all in favor for, except we are also a mage, so we had to work a bit smarter here. So first, like Aveline, you want to get your setup active ability first, that being Control first for that extra damage buff. Then you're going to want to have Taunt activate to try to pull more aggro to Fenris and less aggro to your mages and rogues. After that, you're going to want Stonewall to activate when surrounded to increase your survivability. Then have Lyrium Ghost activated to further that survivability. Then use Pommel Strike on an enemy with 75% or more health, so you use it offensively first. Then have Bolster activated when your stamina is less than 50%, so you can keep abilities up when you need the then activate rally for the same reason, but for your entire party. Finally, you're going to want to use Taunt again for ranged attacks to guarantee more threat generation is taken off your non-warrior squad mates. and then pommel strike on elite or higher so Fenris can focus on the large-scale threats first. Finally, while Might Blow doesn't have too many applications for tactics on Nightmare, since there is friendly fire for that ability on Nightmare, but for enemy mages, it's useful for the added stun for spell interruption, same as Shield Bash.
Good work, Donald, and with that, we have almost covered every single squad mate in Dragon Age 2. We only have Varric, and Isabella left, both of which we can cover in Joe's and my episodes next. I suppose we could do Carver and Talus during the DLC episodes, but that would be more niche, so viewers, you can let us know if you would be interested in seeing that. Also, don't forget to grab the ML shield and the gloves of the Overseer in this room after this cutscene. Both of them are mostly in lore items, but still are good for our collection.
Okay, I really don't want to sound racist or anything, but it's not like I can be canceled now that election season is over. That is a white lady in the picture. Our mom is black. In what way does that picture look like, Leandra?
To be fair, if we didn't edit Hawk as much during the start, that picture does look like default Leandra in the skin tone. Also, here's where we can find our first evidence of Orsino being a rat bastard. There's a letter in the middle of the pile saying the killer has a contact in the circle that has been giving him supplies, including tombs of forbidden knowledge. His name in the letter is O, and he speaks of his research with high praise. Needless to say, he has also been helping him hide from the Templars, too.
Depending on what side we choose at the end of the game, we can press Orsino more harshly on his involvement with Quentin. But that's a yap for another episode. For now, we can cover a little background on our unknown killer. Despite being a blood mage, he actually used to be a well-respected scholar of the Starkhaven Circle, which is where he met Orsino. But he left long before it was burned down by Grace and her boyfriend. He first fled the circle to marry a noble woman, which can anyone tell me if that sounds familiar?
Wait, hold on, you're telling me this guy's the evil version of Hawk's dad?
Basically, yes. He married a noble and devoted his life to forbidden research until his wife died suddenly of illness.
That's great. I love hearing about my victims before they eat shit. But I noticed you still haven't mentioned the Frenchman I killed in your lore yaps yet.
Yeah, we might as well get all the details so we and all the commenters can roast this creepy fuck as we destroy his life's work.
Right, so after Quentin escaped the circle, he took on a apprentice of another Orlesian noble named Gascard. He taught him blood magic, but after his wife died, he became reclusive and stopped teaching his pupil. One day, Gascard saw Quentin's research on performing a necromancy ritual to revive his wife, and instead of being disgusted, Gascard was impressed and wanted to learn more. Quentin, however, disappeared with his research when Gascard showed interest in his ritual, which led Gascard to seek revenge so he can obtain the research that he felt denied to by his master.
Of course, when we come here with Gascard, Quentin reveals all of this immediately. And Gascard ends up turning on us, unless we are a diplomatic or aggressive Hawk that can pass an optional speech check to get him to walk away from necromancy and blood magic for good. Also, if you're wondering what happened to our mom, well, brace yourself, because I sure as hell am not ready for this either.
I'm a Hawk. No. Hawk has faced ancient rock giants, dragons, and an ogre killing his sister, and this is the first shock of horror we have seen on his face all game.
Donald, I don't even care about the death competition right now. I want you to kill this guy on the first try and make him suffer.
Not to worry. Looks like this dude graduated from the T-Vendor Magister Manager's School for Excellent Bitches, as he's just going to hide behind a barrier while I kill all of his guys. Question though, can Dispel Magic take down this barrier and speedrun this fight?
No, unfortunately not. His barrier is unique, and is the only one besides Daenerys, which cannot be immediately dispelled, probably because the developers wanted you to destroy each of the Desire Demons that are the possessions of his previous victims, except for Mirren the Circle Mage, who Emmerich was originally looking for. She isn't here for some reason. These possessions are sort of our main reward for completing the optional first sacrifice quest, since there is really only 2 dialogue changes throughout this entire quest line, and no other unique outcomes. Knowing the full context of this guy's crimes and the full story of their victims is the payoff, and honestly, that's what matters.
Wrong, Barack. What matters is we killed 4 whole blood mages today. That's the important part. If I was less base, though, what would be the end result of Gascard surviving this questline? I've never seen that or bothered to look it up.
So if you persuade him to side against Quentin, here you can meet him one last time in Darktown. He will be surprised to see you as he was trying to flee the city. You can interrogate him if he would have helped us save our mother if we hadn't come to him first, or if he was also responsible for this, and if you have Aveline. Or Fenris and the party, they can interrogate him to get him to admit all he wanted was the necromancy secrets that he tried to learn them on their own by experimenting on others. And if he had the opportunity to confront Quentin alone, he would have done that. Aveline just manhandles him to get the confession, but Fenris uses his lyrium markings to phase inside him, nearly killing him. After that, you have the choice to murder knife him or let him go.
Murder knifing him here isn't really that satisfying. You don't even get to see Hawk stabbing him. The camera just cuts to him falling. If you let him go, he will write you in Act 3 saying that he is giving up magic for good and give you a magical artifact from his old stash, but we never hear from him again, so it's hard to tell if he is being genuine.
If the game doesn't show him becoming a social worker on Omega or joining the Chantry, I'm not inclined to believe him. Bro lies to us at every opportunity. I feel good about killing him here now.
There's one final outcome of this quest if Varric is a part of our squads. And Gascard confronts Quentin here. Varric, being the most streetwise companion, will make his own interrupt before Hawk can speech check Quentin, trying to spare him. This scene is better to show rather than tell Donald, if you would.
Yeah, sure thing, King Crimson.
You'll let me be part of this. You'll teach me the secrets of necromancy.
Varric is based as hell for that. If only he had that kind of smoke in Veilguard too, the game would have been far less sad if we still had prime streetwise Varric.
That's true, I guess. Sitting on the Viscount's throne for a few years really dulled his threat detection and his draw speed too.
Varric has been dulled by the Paragon side of Hawk and the Inquisitor for far too long. My guy used to run these streets.
You know, describing Gascard like this, the dude really sounds like the Fist of the Dragon Age universe. You can keep him alive. But a popular squad mate will automatically execute him. And he's also just a bastard, so most players want him dead.
Plus, if I'm role-playing an aggressive Hawk, why wouldn't I just kill him in his mansion when he was acting sus?
Look, I think Bro is a terrible person, but that doesn't mean he can't course correct. Sometimes you just have to follow the golden rule, boys.
Yeah, well, my golden rule is do unto mages what they truly deserve, and now that this little bitch has lost of all his boob demons and his shield is over, I can make him suffer as slow as possible.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Let's see how you like a little blood magic, you old fuck. That's right, you little bitch. Stay down and die like the corpse lover you are. I'm sure all those old ladies will be ready to jump you in hell faster than if you had the Wild Wasteland perk in Freeside.
Damn, thank God this asshole is finally dead. Good work finishing the fight, Donald. Also, why are we throwing knives at skeletons like we are not a mage use a goddamn chain lightning hawk?
I mean, did you not see our mana pool? That knife may have been all we had left in the tank.
Shit, Mom, are you okay? Can I get you like some water or the healer robe?
His magic was the only thing keeping her
It's
alive.
just like Meryl says, even if vengeance is here, the spell was keeping her alive. Unfortunately, our mom is just a walking corpse right now. A controlled abomination.
Who the fuck is cutting onions in the Oval Office?
Don't move, Mother. We'll find a way to...
Shh. Don't fret, darling. That man would have kept me trapped in here. Now, I'm free. I get to see Bethany again. And your father. But you'll be here alone.
All right, I know we say this a lot, but when I say I want F's in the chat and in the comments, I mean I want F's in the chat to pay respect to the best goddamn mom in the Dragon Age series.
Press F.
I love you. You've always made me so proud.
All right, now that the moment of silence is over, I have to get something out of the way. The writing in this scene pisses me off.
Barry, we just lost our mom. This is the saddest moment in the entire Dragon Age series so far, and we have to go through a rant.
And yes, I know this is a sad time, but this is some of the most forced writing I have ever seen in the series. We just lost our mom, and the very next topic that we have to talk about is about the Mage-Templar debate. Like we get it, writers, you want Hawk to take a side because Act 3 is coming up. But can you try to make it a little bit organic instead of forcing us to take a side here? Makes me feel like Mama Hawk's death was just put in there so Hawk has a valid reason to support the Templars.
Well, that's only because you two liberals need reasons to kill the robes, since their sheer existence and threat aren't reason enough to start curb stomping. It might seem heavy-handed, but sometimes that's the only thing the mage-loving sheep will respond to.
It would have been better if they just let Hawk have a conversation with Meryl. Or Anders, after this quest to debate the Templar and Mage debate, that way it comes from Hawk's own mind, rather, than Gamlin here forcing the conversation on us while our mom's corpse is still warm like it's a political debate at Thanksgiving.
Hey, he's known as Uncle Gamlin for a reason, and my God, I have never respected this broke-ass dude more in my entire life. Want to go to the gallows and kick a mage in the kidneys together? It will definitely make us feel better.
All right, Wild Donald. And Gamlin recreate a male bonding summer camp bully experience. Maybe we should get back to the game. Joe, I agree with you. I'm amazed we can't debate our mother's death with Anders or Meryl, but we can talk about our siblings' death in the deep roads with Meryl if we didn't induct them in the Grey Wardens instead. But definitely a massive oversight.
Oh, believe me, the robe got a taste of his own medicine. Hell, people are already reporting me for elderly abuse.
How does Gamlin know how to reach Carver and the Wardens? What the hell kind of connections does he have to get that?
I'm just going to assume the Wardens have a P.O. box or something, and that they handle their own mail. Otherwise, Cassandra should have grabbed Gamlin instead of Varric to find Hawk.
I'm still amazed in a world where magic is so powerful a spell like sending, where you magically send a message directly to someone's brain, just doesn't exist in any format.
Oh my God, Mommy, please hug me.
Earl, Joe, I know you said you wanted a conversation with Meryl or Anders, but if we romance them, we do get that dialogue. Surprisingly, Fenris shuts up about his mage hate for this one scene. And Isabella has nothing to say about mages either, but actually has some really sweet dialogue to help with the grief. If you don't romance anyone by this point, Aveline will comfort you, and despite Sebastian being a romance, he doesn't have a comfort scene here.
I'm role-playing my Hawk is really hurt, so I'm about to pop off on the Blood Mage a little here. It's only fair.
Donald, we already lost our mother. Don't make Hawk lose his wife too, you bastard. Meryl would never do something this messed up blood magic. It's just a tool.
That's the same bullshit the egg says, and it doesn't stop him from using those tools to fuck us in Veilguard.
Well, we get a little extra dialogue from Miranda. And Bodan about our mother's death, thankfully we didn't get a glitch where Bodan says a random line of dialogue instead of the grieving dialogue. And will at this moment say, "Welcome home, sir, your mom just got back home a few minutes prior."
Damn, that's both funny and really fucked.
Well, that's about to call it for this episode, but before I go, I know there's at least one companion that's going to acknowledge our mother's death. Time to hit up the thick girl herself.
Eveline does make sense to be the one to console us. She knew Mama Hawk longer than anyone else in the squad. And unlike almost everyone else in the squad, she at least had a parent who was worth a damn.
Yeah, Aveline's father gave up every bit of gold he ever earned as a Orlesian knight directly to King Callian so his girl could become an officer in his service. Besides surrogate parents like Althena to Sebastian or the keeper to Meryl, Aveline is the only character who had an active good parent in the squad.
We're going to let this story play out. There's just so many scenes in this game that deserve a moment of silence just to let the feelings sink in.
It's not because we are crying too honest.
I wouldn't turn a page until I reached over and took his hand. That big man made every step of the story my choice. I loved that. He died of the wasting in a Denerim ward. Those last weeks, I read to him. I had to take his hand to turn the pages, and I couldn't tell if he was too weak, or if it was the old game. He smiled at that, at his big girl.
I mean, silver lining, Aveline, your dad died before the Darkspawn stormed the Denerim gates and lit everything on fire.
Drink.
I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but at least he missed out on how shitty things got in Ferelden with the Civil War and Fifth Blight.
It's good that he missed that shitty year, but he also missed out on the golden age of Ferelden during Lestairs and Anora's rule. And I'm sure Aveline would have preferred to still have her dad around.
Whether the dead just go to the Fade, the Maker's side, or just go into nothing, I'm sure Mama Hawk and Father Dulac are proud of how badass both their kids turned out. So here's a toast to the two best Bioware parents in the Dragon Age series.
Well, we tried to end on a positive note, but this has probably been the saddest episode in our Dragon Age run so far.
True, we have really hit rock bottom in terms of tragedy now, but we are about to reach the peak of Dragon Age 2 with the Qunari conflict next episode, so get ready for Hawk to be on a non-stop wind train very soon.
Speaking of, I'm about to pick up the next Qunari quest. Looks like, now that Hawk is sufficiently traumatized, the Qunari have decided to make their next move and capitalize on how appealing their religion is to people with daddy issues.
Where the Viscount is talking, you would think there's some shifty Qunari offering their religion to inner-city teens like it's crack. The Qunari here are military, not priests. They aren't trying to advertise convergence, dude. It was definitely your son's own choice.
Still not a good time. The kid is only like 19 in Act 2. He has his whole life to join the Qunari. Maybe he should try doing that when they aren't actively occupying Kirkwall and causing zealots to want an exalted march. That's all your problem to tackle next episode, Joe, as well as some final few quests around town.
I guess it's my turn to finish up Act Strong, and I'm going to call it now. I'm going to finish next episode, Deathless Viewers. I still need to get my Deathless episode in Act 2.
No way in hell are you tackling the hardest base game boss, Deathless. I won't be wearing the crown for most deaths very long. Viewers, stay tuned. But for now, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment on the saddest moment in the Dragon Age series, in your opinion, as well as a like to thumb Sleepy Joe's ass and a subscription to keep up to date on the next video. Next time, Sleepy Joe will complete all of Act 2 and probably get owned by the Arishok, so look forward to it. But for now, stay safe, Trump out.